Hello, I am back. You are back. We are back. Before I bring up this clip from Tim Dillon, I want to let everybody know that I'm soft rolling out my website. It's pleadthefirst.org, where I've taken some of my art and things and I've put them on t-shirts and hats and mugs and stuff. So if you're interested in checking that out, I'd be eternally grateful. And if you would like to place an order, I would be extra eternally grateful. Here is Tim Dillon.
They're in the White House. They have the Congress. They have the Senate. They have the Supreme Court. It is them. It is now them. I don't want to hear about the deep state anymore. You're playing me for a fool. You're playing everyone for a fool. You brought in Kash Patel. You brought in that other guy, Dan Bongino. You threw him out or he left, whatever. You brought in Pam Bondi and then threw her out. I'm sick of hearing about this deep state. All of these people, you have to be one of the stupidest people in the world to fall for this shit at this point. You are peddling the dumbest, most, by the way, I hate to use this word, but cringe. It's literally cringe. You watch this and you go, I feel so disgusted by the fact that they think people are still gonna believe this shit. Well, it's the deep state. It's the deep state. You guys covered all this shit up. Polymarket has it like that. We're like the odds to put boots on the ground before 2027 is almost 30%. It's like a 26% chance. I think it's much higher than that. I think they're wrong on this because there's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. There's two options here. Nuke, boots on the ground. And you've got a guy in there who might do a combination, might do one or the other, he might do both. Who knows what the fuck he does? They're in the...
Speaking of Polymarket.
Donald Boom.
So it turns out Flock, so of course Polymarket is a CIA Mossad psyop.
Let's go back to July of 2003. Admiral John Poindexter's Information Awareness Office at DARPA unveils a highly secretive project called the Policy Analysis Market, or PAM. Developed by a Caltech researcher named Robin Hanson, PAM was supposed to be, quote, a market in the future of the Middle East and would have allowed trading of futures contracts based on possible political developments in Middle East countries, including terror attacks. But amid public backlash against this idea of betting on death, the Pentagon agreed to cancel the program a few months before its planned launch. So, I think it's fair to ask, is there more to Polymarket than meets the eye? The truth, we just learned in Whitney Webb and Mark Goodwin's The Secret History of Polymarket, is that Shane Copeland, the founder, didn't just build a multi-billion-dollar empire out of a bathroom with no industry connection. No, in fact, Copeland was actually in direct communication with Robin Hanson, the principal system architect, if you remember, who designed DARPA's failed terrorism futures market. And if you dig even further into Copeland's past, you find out that his first project was a company called Token Union. But interestingly, Goodwin and Webb note that Token Union is absent from nearly every media profile of Copeland that has been written since Polymarket's meteoric rise, and also never mentioned by Copeland himself. They say that one of the reasons why Token Union has seemingly been erased from current narratives about both Copeland and Polymarket may lie in Token Union's close partnership and integration with Bancor, a decentralized finance protocol enabling on-chain trading and liquidity. Now, Bancor was created by Guy and Galia Bernartzi, the nephew and niece of none other than longtime and current Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. You knew that this is where the story was eventually going to end up. Additionally, Galia Bernartzi, immediately prior to creating Bancor, had been a partner at Peter Thiel's Founders Club, where she helped lead the firm's investments in Israel. And get this next part. Sitting right next to Netanyahu's nephew and niece on Copeland's advisory board was a man named Lou Kerner, a prominent venture capitalist heavily embedded in the Israeli tech ecosystem, a startup scene that former Mossad directors have openly stated is heavily populated by intelligence veterans running front companies for state operations. And that's where we are, just a string of coincidences, I'm sure, that an NYU dropout in his early 20s gets in touch with the direct architect of the canceled DARPA terrorism market. He then founds a company with the nephew and niece of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, with an advisor on the company tied to a venture fund for Israel's 8,200 intelligence veterans, and receives tens of millions of dollars in funding from the Peter Thiel network. Yeah.
Lots about Peter Thiel in there. Guess who else?
I mean, James
Peter Thiel
David
is
Hamill.
tied to.
Oh, I'm sorry. James Donald Bowman. I mean, James David Hamill. Oh, I'm sorry. J.D. Vance, which is what he goes by now after he published his book, Hillbilly Elegy. But how did a venture capitalist become the Vice President of the United States, the second most powerful position on the planet, in just 3 short years? If your answer was money and foreign influence, you were right. J.D. Vance, before he was an Ohio senator, worked for his mentor, Peter Thiel. And you might know Peter Thiel as the co-founder of Palantir Technologies, which has deep contracts with the Israeli military and intelligence agencies. Their AI-powered surveillance and targeting systems are actively being used by the IDF in Gaza and the West Bank. J.D. Vance received $15 million in campaign donations by Peter Thiel in 2021 that helped him take a Senate seat in Ohio. Once in the Senate, J.D. Vance got right to work. He pushed for massive increases in military spending, AI and tech deregulation, and government contracts that directly benefited Palantir, Peter Thiel's surveillance empire. Peter Thiel, realizing how useful in making of his own creation could be in politics, began to aim higher, setting his sights next on the vice presidency. Although J.D. Vance had made comments about Donald Trump in the past, even calling him Hitler, they knew that a large contribution to Donald Trump's campaign would not only earn them Trump's forgiveness, but also the vice president's spot. The persistent rumors that Peter Thiel and his network offered Trump a large financial package, reportedly in the range of $50 to $100 million in campaign support and super PAC money, in exchange for Trump selecting J.D. Vance as his vice presidential running mate. And just like that, a man who had changed his name 3 times, who was a venture capitalist only 3 years prior, was now second in line for the presidency of the United States of America. The same man is now heading up peace negotiations between the United States and Iran, presenting himself as openly defiant against Israel and portraying himself as a voice of reason in the White House. Many are supporting him, stating that he is the answer to Israel's pressure and calls for war. But they're completely ignoring the fact that his financial backers directly benefit from Israel's conflict in Palestine and the United States' conflict with Iran. J.D. Vance is not who you think he is, and will serve Israel as soon as he obtains power.
True dat. True dat. Shout out Senix official on X. The whole time I'm watching that, I'm just watching this dude in the mask, and I'm wondering, like, is he just like kind of moving his head along to like a video that he's narrating, or does he have the microphone inside of that mask talking into it? It kind of sounds like there's a microphone inside of his mask, but it's funny to think about. So yeah, either Trump makes it through this next 2.5 years or whatever, or we end up getting stuck with J.D. Vance earlier than 2028 if he was to win the election, which it's probably not projected that he's going to win the election. So my gut feeling is that something is going to happen to Trump and J.D. Vance is going to be inserted. There's so much money on the line. And maybe something doesn't even actually happen to Trump. Maybe it's just this big false. The way I see it, it's probably going to be a assassination by Iran, and then, you know, they can leverage that for the war in Iran, and then they can also bring in J.D. Vance as this, you know, Trojan horse, and another Trojan horse, just like Trump was. I haven't watched it because I just can't stand to hear him talk anymore. But Trump had a speech the other night, and he was talking about how China's influence in the 2020 elections, and that's how it was faked, and blah, 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 and this and that. I just can't believe they're running this right now. Like, they're trying to draw your attention over to China when the huge elephant in the room is going to be, you know, when there's constantly these like, look, this is funny, man. I really hate how much China is influencing our elections. It's like the elephant in the room is massive. Like, it's so, like, just like Tim Dillon said, you have to be an absolute, just ignorant, obsessive, I don't know, like, do whatever you have to do to come around to the fact that Donald Trump isn't who he was supposed to be. He's not who he ran as, and he's definitely not the guy that you think he is and will ever be. Let's do the 5 stages of grief, or whatever you have to do. Let's get past, you know, step 1, and let's move through the steps. Let's figure out how we can all start working towards the future. We cannot have, it's like the No Child Left Behind thing. Like, we can't leave anybody behind. Let's move the whole voter base to a more realistic, you know, I guess not realistic, but more populist movement. We thought it was MAGA. We thought it was Maha. It's not. I'm sorry. Even though it's not my fault, I hate to break it to you, but I care about you, and I'm trying to let you down easy. So, please, let's move along.